Okay, boys and girls, this is your grandpappy or great-grandpappy or great-great-grandpappy, depending on who you are and how far down the Pollard line you are. I am 88 years old. Another week I'll be 89. So I'm getting pretty close to 90. And I want to pass along some information about who you are as a Pollard and how far back the Pollard family goes, which will be a huge surprise, I'm sure, to you as it was to me. Dad apparently had a pretty good reputation down there in Georgia. The Hebbardville Barrel Company that made barrels out of cypress trees. They cut barrel staves, bent them, and made barrels out of them. Well, they gave Dad an opportunity to go in business. They loaned him a building to set up a machine shop in, and he maintained the steam engine, railroad steam engine, and the rail cars for them, as they had a sawmill. They cut down trees and drug them over to the railroad cars and dropped them, the logs into cars, and then they would haul them out of there, drop them off at the Hebbardville Barrel Stave Company. Well, Dad maintained the engines. Every once in a while they'd get out of whack, and he'd have to, a lot of times they'd have to make new bearings to go in the driving rods of the steam engine locomotives. And sometimes it was other things. The steam whistle now and then had to be set to go off when the engineer pulled the line that operated it. Anyway, and he made rail cars for them, or repaired rail cars for them. The other thing was that he made log skidders. He'd take a 1918 Model T Ford. He put a Packard engine in it and two transmissions, one right behind the other. And then he put a set of great big tractor wheels like on the tractors that we use today, big rubber tire wheels on the back. And they dragged them logs through the mud and water and whatever down there, and then crane pick them up and load them onto the rail cars to be hauled out of the swamp. And he was pretty good at that. He got to be a machinist working in his own shop. Nobody taught him. He just taught himself what he needed to know to repair all that stuff. And there was another thing he did. There was a doctor in Waycross that was a real drinker. I'm gonna tell you what, they said he stayed drunk all the time. Dad fixed him up a 1920 car and made railroad wheels and axles for it, and put them on it. After they got it rigged up, the old man would come down to the machine shop, and they'd help him up into the car and give him a pint of whiskey, and he'd sit in the car. Dad'd start the engine up, and it'd run he could set it to run real slow, and it would run along about 1 mile an hour or something like that, and go on down into the swamp. And it was running slow enough that the guys at the sawmill down there could jump aboard and shut the engine down, and they'd help him. He was drunk as a skunk by then because he drank the whole pint on the way down there. Take him into the sleeping quarters there, throw him in bed and let him sober up, and then they keep him supplied with enough liquor that he didn't drop dead on him, and he'd take care of the sawmill workers, because there was somebody getting hurt down there, losing fingers and sometimes a hand or whatever, and so he fixed things up. Must have been a pretty good doctor before he got to be such a drunk. But anyhow, that's what he did. Well, Dad had developed the following. His railroad gang came to work with him at at the repair shop. And Dad lost out on the machining business there because they moved the sawmill down the bottom end of the Okefenokee Swamp. He couldn't move down there. He didn't have a building or anything, and he wasn't all that interested, I think. My Aunt Marion sent him a letter, told him, Fred, come up here to Baltimore. There's plenty of good jobs and they pay good money. Come on up here and go to work. Well, Dad said he hopped aboard a freight train, and him and a bunch of guys got in a boxcar, and he said there was about a half a dozen of them aboard. They played poker all the way up to Baltimore, and he said that they all about to come out even, not too much one way or the other. Everybody settled up, but there was one fellow there that owed him 26 cents. And he told the guy, he said, here's my sister's address. When you get a job, get to working good, you send me the 26 cents. Well, that don't sound like much, but 26 cents in 1926 was a pretty fair amount of money. And the fella sent her a letter, said, tell Fred that I'm working at Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I'm working as a foundryman, pouring, casting railroad parts. So I'm glad you saw fit to let me owe you the 26 cents rather than having the guy throw me off on the ground. So anyway, apparently that was kind of a big deal when you loan somebody you don't even know, especially a railroad pump, that you don't even know loaning 26 cents. Okay, well, I think that's about enough of this for now.